Well, hello. Welcome back, everyone. How's it going? It's been a while. We're back. I'm streaming. Huzzah. Hopefully everything's working. I've been kind of messing with the cables and wires and get everything back together, but how's everyone doing tonight? It's been a few months. October, was it? November? The Bruce is here and Sukra's here. Good evening and welcome um, to a stream. I just can't get over how long it's been, but I had just felt the need to stream again, and here we are. So why not? Everything seems to be working right now, Sukra. We know how technology works. It works until it doesn't work, is the whole thing. So, yeah, hopefully everyone's having a good time. Back again, and I don't know why. I just felt the need to stream again. It's been a while, and I kind of missed it. So here we are. And above all, wanted to show off a little bit of this Amiga 500 that's been boosted. So if you're hanging out in Discord, seeing on Blue Sky, you've seen me messing with that kind of stuff. So Amiga is near and dear to my heart, as we've streamed it before and had fun with it. So we're going to do that again tonight. But yeah, it's been goodness. Yeah, it's funny because as I was prepping this last night to make sure everything was working, all the cables and everything, I had done the cardinal sin of taking cables away from a working setup to do something else. So that when you come back to the original working setup and you try and run it and nothing works, like audio wasn't there, the video capture was off, the power to the monitor wasn't there. I mean, it was just absurd the amount of stuff I had pulled from here just for, small projects and testing. But I got there back in the end. So we're capturing, you see it up there. That's the live view of the Amiga 500, which we'll get to in a second here. We'll talk a little more about that and the current status of it, because it is like anything retro. It's always evolving. It's never done. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I ever had a retro machine that's just done. There's always something to do, something to improve. There's new products coming out. There's new software and new things to discover and explore. So, um, exactly. That's I think you and I were talking about that. I have a Mac, the Power Mac that we streamed on a year and a half ago now or whatever, and that's a Blue SCSI in there for hard drive. And then I was messing with another system, like I need a Blue SCSI. Do I have another one? Should I go take the one? And I actually stopped myself. I literally stopped myself to say, you know what? No, I'm not going to take the Blue SCSI that's working out of that system. So I ended up doing something else for that project. But it's hard to not do that, to tear it apart. But then, of course, when you go to grab that system off the shelf or use it again, it's in pieces, and that's a problem. So anyway, Amiga is the topic of tonight. As you might have seen on Discord or Blue Sky, I've been messing with the Amiga 2000 a lot. And I've been ordering parts, getting up to speed, and doing the stuff I wanted, or the way I want it to be, to turnkey Amiga. But I've always had this sitting right here, which you can see here and out of view here, is the Amiga 500. And this is one I bought. I'll rewind. If you may remember, my neighbor had an Amiga 500 when I was growing up. And so that was my biggest exposure to Amiga. And in Europe, it was very popular. At least in Scandinavia. I mean, there were so many Amiga 500s around the area I lived that all the kids that were a little older than me, so I'm millennial, so the Amiga 500 would have come out like in, I think, 87, 89, 87, 88, 89 or something like that in Scandinavia. And it just took everything by storm. It was like such a compelling package for a lot of people. It could do so much, above all, a lot of gaming. So there were so many people with Amiga around me, and then above all, my neighbor. I would go over to across the street all the time and would play on his Amiga 500. That was a stock Amiga 500 with the 512K memory upgrade, bringing it to 1 megabyte total. We'll get to in a second, and an external floppy drive, and that was it. It was just manual floppies. You're just inserting floppy disks over and over and over to play games. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. So there are lots of accelerators for Amiga. So normally it has a stock 7 megahertz processor in here, which is the Motorola 68000. It's used in a lot of stuff, including the Amiga 500 and the Amiga 2000. And it's fine. It plays a lot of games, of course. It's the most compatible one. It has most games for the Amiga were written for the 68000 processor because that's the bulk. You always write games for the most common configurations so you can have the most sales. And Amiga 500 stock was pretty much it. So it was just super popular. And I know it got pretty popular in the US as well. And just to note, this is an NTSC Amiga 500. We'll get to that in a second too. It wasn't nearly as big. So as we'll touch on here tonight with the NTSC Amiga 500, there's some restrictions. Most game software, stuff like that, was written for the PAL Amigas. So that makes it a little limited because there were some games ported, but there's a fraction of the games ported to NTSC because it runs too fast. If you take a PAL game and run it on Amiga 500 from NTSC, it runs faster because it's going from 50 hertz to 60 hertz, and bam, you get overclocked game performance. We'll see that actually a little bit. There was certain video chips in these later models that would actually support switching between those two, which is what I have in my Amiga 2000. So you can just switch it with a software switch. This one does not have that. So something I'm looking to upgrade as well. And it seems to me that, I don't know, I know, for example, like the Apple II, right, in the US was really big, like with it being in schools and stuff. I feel like the Apple products really had a big presence in the US. But it feels like Commodore never really got that big here. I mean, I know the C64 was big here as well, but the Amiga 500 just never took off or anything. And I don't know that it was ever launched or released in Japan. It might have, not to my knowledge, but I think the stronghold for the Amiga was definitely in Europe, for sure. That's where the most of them were sold and used. So there were US Amigas being sold, but you had the big box Amiga sold a lot for TV stations and, that kind of workstation purposes and not gaming machines, right? And also the PC was starting to pick up speed pretty quickly after this, right? The Amiga 500 and the Amiga as a whole was pretty short-lived when you think about it, because the Amiga 1000 came out in 1985. It was not intended as a gaming machine, although it could do it. It was expensive. Not until the Amiga 500 came out, like later, a few years later, did it take off. But by like 93, 94, the Amiga was already winding down. And by 95, it was pretty much, used for video production. And PC had overtaken it easily by then. It stagnated, so it never really took off after that. But we'll go to, so this is the Amiga 500 then. So what I've done with this one is that it actually has a accelerator in it, which replaces the CPU with a 68030 processor, which is a very common upgrade for the Amigas. This is a terrible fire accelerator card. So you take out the processor and you put the processor in. And there's a little story to that, because I had originally bought that accelerator to try it at my Amiga 2000, but it wouldn't fit very well in there. So I ordered the adapter to make it fit in the Amiga 500. Well, it turns out I have a revision 5 Amiga 500, which is the, most complicated one, or the challenging one to use. And it turns out you cannot run older versions of Kickstart, which is the Amiga BIOS. So I had to update that. Well, you can't do that without an adapter. You see where this is going. It's just a typical like retro computer crap. So I ordered a extender adapter for the Kickstart ROM. Okay, did that. Ordered a Kickstart ROM. Okay, did that. And then I was going to install everything, and the accelerator card wouldn't fit. It was too low. It would bump into the chips, so I couldn't use it. I'm like, what's going on? So I ordered an angle adapter, which is a 90-degree angle thing that moves the card away, and that's pretty common. Still wouldn't fit. So I had to order extenders, like basically bracket extenders, and that finally, after that was all done, I plugged everything in. Okay, finally, I'm going to use my Amiga 500. And then the compact flash wouldn't work, which is the hard drive I was going to use for it. And I ended up having to buy a new compact flash adapter. All that said and done, we now have a working Amiga 500 with an accelerator card in it with a hard drive on it. Because remember, the Amiga 500 was by stock. It does not have a hard drive, nor does it have a hard drive controller in it. So all said and done, we now have an Amiga 500 with a hard drive in it, which is what I wanted. So, and it's a little bit faster. We'll look at that in a second. Yeah, it feels like the IBM was definitely not a gaming machine, especially in the beginning. You look at like CGA and stuff like that; it was not pleasant to game on, especially when we're going to look at the Amiga as a whole. Like the gaming prowess of this machine was unrivaled for a while there, but then of course they got overtaken by a competitor. So, evening, Micah, Blankboy, welcome back, I should say. So when we got, EGA, VGA, Sound Blaster support on hard drives in your average home consumer computer at home, right? That took off. I have a 4666 set up next to my Amiga 2000 over here, and the jump between those two is just dramatic. When you see what you could do with DOS and a 46, I mean, it just left the Amigas and stuff like that in the dust as far as like capabilities. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff on the Amigas, don't get me wrong, but it was a very flash in the pan kind of thing that disappeared pretty quickly, unfortunately. So this then Amiga is boosted. It's running a 25 megahertz 68030 processor. There's plenty of them that run faster than that. But also, when you look at what an Amiga 500 was supposed to do, I don't see the need to run like we're not going to run anything incredibly like modern on this machine. That's not the purpose of this. I want it to be a little bit faster. I wanted the convenience of a hard drive, and that's what the accelerator gave me. So that's how this is configured. I know that the capture is a little wonky because the display resolution on the Amiga is a little odd, and it's caused the numbering to be kind of misaligned. But normally, by default, you have 512K of memory, which is on chip on the Amiga motherboard, and 0 other memory. There's nothing. That's the stock configuration. You could buy a 512K memory expansion module, which is in here as well, a newer one, which gives you 1 meg total memory, but a split. The extra 4 meg of memory you see in here comes from the accelerator card. It's got that built in. And this is really more than you would need for normal gaming on an A500. So the problem is that and I'm going to misrepresent this, I'm not an Amiga expert in that level, but the 512K chip memory here is what the custom chips can use. So some games, even if you have 4 meg, you can have 100 meg here. If you only have half a meg of chip memory, you're going to run into problems. And we'll see there's some games that will not run because we're running them from hard drive. So planning to fix that as well at some point to get 1 meg of chip RAM and 4 meg of extended memory. And I don't really need more, or it's fast RAM is what they call it. So Ian Joseph, welcome back. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I look at Apple, and there's a lot of people that grew up with Apple machines of varying degrees. But for me, when the PC really, the Clone War started and all that, like you mentioned, the PC took off. That was it. It was the gaming machine. Of course, there's tons of fun to be had on the Mac as well, but gaming just exploded, it feels like, with the PC compatible. And, again, having SoundBlaster / AdLib, most computers had a hard drive, and VGA support. I mean, that opened up. You look behind me as far as games goes, how many of the games I have from an era that will run on that configuration is just insane. So that's fun, Mike Boy. I would really suggest, if you want to just mess with it, if you haven't done it already, use the Amiga Vision pack, because it lets you play games. In a nice menu, you just boot up the core, and it launches into a pre-configured hard drive, and you pick the game and you play. If you want to dip your toes in Amiga, that's a great way to get started. And turnkey as well, so Amiga Vision. Installing it is funny because I messed with the Amiga 2000. I've learned now how to install Amiga OS and stuff like that, and it started making sense. Like, there's a command line, you can do stuff, copy files, directory listings, and you actually do get that. You can exit out of that menu to go back into Workbench, but of course the best way to really do it is to install Amiga OS from scratch, and it's actually not that complicated. I went through it the first time on real hardware, and I realized afterwards, like, well, that wasn't that big a deal. So you can either do that. You can also get WinUAE, which is software emulator on your computer to do Amiga, and also install it from scratch there. And that's what I did for this. You can actually install the software and operating system on the compact flash on your computer and then move it to the real Amiga, which actually works pretty well. But there's a lot of tricks to it. But if you just want to learn to install it, it's actually not that complicated. You just basically have an Amiga hard drive ready, and then you insert the installation floppies and you run it. And that's pretty much it. It's almost next all the way through, and then you get it installed, and then you get the Workbench. Now, going from there, it's like a brand new installation of any operating system. It's a lot to mess with and learn. So, you're talking about Gem, because the Gem is the one that runs on the Atari ST, right, or the Atari operating system. Maybe I'm misunderstanding that, but I know Gem does that. But yeah. Yeah, when you do that, Mike Boy, there's guides, and I would Google like install WinUAE Amiga compact flash or something, because you have to basically mount the compact flash card into the emulator, and it is presented as a hard drive from there. But Windows can't take over. If Windows takes over and it tries to use it as a real drive, it won't be seen by the Amiga. So there are guides to do it, but in short, you basically use a compact flash reader. You delete any partitions on anything on that drive. It needs to be empty. So go in and delete it out of Disk Manager, or using the clean command in Diskpart. Then inside of WinUAE, you basically add it as a hard drive and pick the compact flash, and now it's available to your Amiga to use. So that when you boot it up, it will be seen as a SCSI hard drive. You do have to make a little more tweaks too, but that's the general idea. And after that, you just put in your ADF files for the floppies and install Amiga OS, and bam, you have Workbench. So, and then you can take that back to the thing, and that's pretty convenient to do this for large transfers, because you can just pop that into your computer and do that. So I have networked my Amiga 2000. We're not going to do that to the 500 today, which is also convenient. You can run FTP server. So as far as the Amiga goes, the first thing we're going to get out of the way is that we have to benchmark it, because that's what everyone does. When they put an accelerator, oh, sorry, is it low? I think I'm in, I can see, I'm in the red on my talking, but I can certainly increase my volume if that would help. So maybe if I put it closer, how's that? How's everyone else's audio as far as me talking? Because I am in the red on my UV meter in OBS, so I can certainly turn it up, but I'd be afraid it'd be going too high. So let me know. I can definitely increase it, but I'll put it closer for starters. So okay. All right, I want to make sure, because again, I haven't streamed in so long, I don't know what my settings are. So I usually try and stay in the red on the UV meter in OBS, and then the game in the just below the yellow. It's my usual target. But sysinfo is a very common application to run when you have a boosted Amiga to see what it does. And I know text is kind of hard to see, but we can see here we have a 68030 processor, CPU, and we have a standard Agnes chip, and that's the thing I want to upgrade. There's no clock memory or clock battery, so we can't keep the time. Evening, Johnny. Welcome back. We do have an FPU, which is a floating processing unit on the chip. I have not installed a library for that, because there's so few things that use it, especially games. And the MMU for the 68030 is not in use. I have to install libraries. Again, there's not many things to take advantage of it, especially on the gaming side. But what we can do is we can run a speed test here, and this is what everyone does. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I actually have the drawbridge from Rob Smith Dev. If you start looking at YouTube videos about Amiga and stuff, you'll run into him pretty quickly, and he seems like a brilliant guy. He's developed a lot of stuff, and it's actually a adapter board you put into a USB floppy drive, one of those you can buy from Amazon, and it makes it to be able to read and write Amiga and Atari floppies directly from Windows with software, and that's what I'm hoping to do. So yeah, and it's actually supported, I think, directly on the Mister as well, which is, it's awesome. You can do that kind of carry it over, right? You can run emulator on your computer with real floppies. So, okay, that's really weird. Wonder if you have any dynamic noise canceling or anything like that going on within any of your if you're looking on a computer. Some of the drivers can be using like some dynamic like noise thing or whatever. So awesome, I'll check it out. So in short, it's what everyone does with unboosted Amiga, is to see where does it land in my thing or whatever. So we can see here the normal Amiga 600, the 7 megahertz processor in the Amiga 2600. Is a certain amount of dry stones, and ours is much faster. So you can see we're landing more on an Amiga 3000, which came with a 25 megahertz 68030 processor by default. So we're running at an A3000-ish speed. The A4000 is even faster because it runs a 68040, and that's the top dog of the Amigas. Point being with this is that you can always make these faster. There's always a faster accelerator. You can see your comments, smell the rubber. But at the end of the day, if you're just playing games, it's really the 3D games on Amiga are run through software. That's where you get the benefit, or through the CPU. There's no accelerator for the video, right? So if you're running games that use wireframe 3D and polygonal 3D, that's where the speed improvement helps. Where we'll see with Frontier Elite 2, it's the standard one to run the intro in that to see how the software runs, because it runs dog slow on the 7 megahertz stock CPU. This gives you enough power to have a good time. And it gives you a hard drive and extra memory. So for me, I was looking at the accelerator. There's a lot of options, but this is one of the cheapest ones, and it's open source. An older version. He's made a newer one that's more compatible too. It does what you need to. So you can also see the memory here. We have 4 megabytes of extended memory, or the fast RAM that they call it. And we have the 512K of installed memory, which is sitting in the expansion bay. There's an expansion bay in the Amiga 500. We can insert a memory module, and it supports 512 by default. That has been added. And then lastly, we have the chip RAM, which is the RAM on board. And the kicker with the chip RAM is that this is the only memory that the custom chips can access. That's the video processor, the audio processor, all that stuff. It cannot extend access to fast RAM. So that's the problem, is that you can have as much fast RAM as you want, but then some games won't run because it needs chip memory. So I'll try and fix that on this Amiga, because that does limit a little bit. I want to get up to 1 meg at least, and that should open up most of what you need to do with it. So we can also look at the drives. We can see we have the floppy drive. There's no disk inserted. We have 2 virtual hard drives, basically, or there's 2 partitions on the compact flash card. One is just the OS drive. The second one is the games and everything I have on there, which is much bigger. But you can do a speed test, but it doesn't run very fast. It doesn't really need to. I need to tweak that too. I think there's more you can do to make it faster, but it doesn't really matter. So, okay, maybe I should talk in the middle, not too fast, not too low. So anyway, all that to say is that you can speed these things up to the nth degree. I don't feel an Amiga 500 gets the benefit out of that because it's not. It depends on what you're going to do on it. You might as well just run it on a more capable Amiga to begin with. It's fun to see. You can run it on FPGA. You can run it on emulator. You can run it on Pi Amiga, stuff like that. That's more hardware direct. And I don't know. It's fun to do that stuff, but I like having this. It's an enhanced plus. So we will run one game for starters because we have to look at the Frontier intro. And as a reminder, this is an NTSC Amiga. I can only run NTSC games. So I have all the NTSC US games on here, which I, of course, all legally own. So we can extract as needed. So, but Frontier is the sequel to Elite. And I played this game with a friend a lot. We spent so many hours playing Space Pirate, Space Trucker, etc. We'll see how the audio is here now. This runs excruciatingly slow on the stock Amiga 500. Okay, interesting. All right, well, I'm cranked up in the red. I can increase my audio volume, maybe move my microphone a little bit away from here. So. Let's see if we talk now. Let's find the right slider. Let's see. I'm just testing a little bit here now to see where we land. Talking to see if I clip up anymore. No, nothing. Must have the wrong slider. Where did it go? There it is. I have to have. Oh, I think I know. Let's see. Still nothing. Oh, well, guess I'll leave it where it is there. It's odd. I'm even in the max, so. But yeah, this would run just dog slow on a stock processor. This is the whole thing. People run this benchmark. They call it Frontier Mark. Everyone runs this to see how their boosted Amiga runs, and this runs more like it would be on the 46, right? It feels like fully playable. This is what you expect it. But if you run this on the stock Amiga, it is so slow. It's just nuts. Have to tweak the settings, I think. Something's not quite right because yeah, the gain is on max right now. On the microphone, I will turn a little bit like this, see if that helps a little bit, but alright. It is what it is. Hopefully you guys can cope, and I will do some more testing. Yeah, this is like, this was just incredibly impressive back for the day, and it was definitely stretching the Amiga more than it, should. It was not a good one to play on here. It was really, really sluggish. Now, I can't really switch back to the stock experience here quickly. It just ran so slow. But the game seems to run just fine. Like, it will hit like a... No, it doesn't break the game, if that's what you're asking, as far as like that goes. You can run this as fast as you want, and people do it on just absurdly accelerated ones. It's not a game like Wing Commander 2 or something that would break if you run too fast. Fortunately, this runs great, even at high speed, so... There's the game. Whee! Unfortunately, the game is just super complicated. bulletin board. And my friend and I, we played this like all night, like over a weekend. We would just basically sit up all night and just do space trucking. But the game is so complicated, I'm not going to get into it now. Maybe we'll do an actual stream focusing on this game at some point and actually play it for real, because it is just super complicated. It's just one of those, like, do whatever you want in space trucking thing, right? You can do space trucking, hunt pirates, you can be a pirate, you can go mining, you know, all that kind of stuff that we kind of are expecting now from these kind of games, so. Take off. You see, it's not really... Let's see. And the problem is, I don't remember what the button is to speed up. Oh, look at that. Retractor landing gear. Wait. What the... Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember how to fly. There's a thing to increase your speed. I have the big box for this for PC. Maybe I should go look at the manual. Whoops. Uh-oh. There we go. Cheese it. It's the fuzz. The fuzz. Yeah, it's enter and shift. Wasn't me, officer, I swear. You can see how I'm chugging now because it's showing the ground, right? So, as you may have noticed, that let us fly from the surface up into space seamlessly. And you think about that, that's something that's pretty impressive. And again, this was made in like 92 or something or earlier, so... Yeah, the police is not happy about me. Look at that old red on the radar there. So we are going to never take me alive, coppers. Oh, incoming missile. Yeah, it's like on 2 floppies on the Amiga. There we go. Our pilot had a great time. But you saw even there it is slowing down. So imagine that running on a, you know, fraction of that performance. So yeah, anyway. And we ran on floppies when I was a kid. And that was really, really slow too, because you got to put the floppy in, wait for it to load and everything. So we do have a few games installed here. Not that many because I want to test it, but I want to show also, for example, here's Lotus 3. And if you try and run this, it will actually error out because it doesn't have enough chip RAM. So yeah, there we go. So there's no memory. And also something interesting, WHD load is actually, so 99% of the games on the Amiga were on floppy. They were not made to be installed on a hard drive. But it's a fantastic project on a website for WHD load, which is like, you know, load game from hard drive. And it actually has emulated or adapted the floppy images to run from hard drive. So that's the one thing you use probably for most of these. But yeah, we can get the regular Lotus. So what we're going to do now, I actually have what's called a game archive here. It's all the games for NTSC. So I need to find, we can find Lotus, so we got to find L. The problem is that I copied over all of them. Oh, really? Yeah, that's the thing. They probably ported almost all the games. And it's a fantastic name. This is using memory, so let's see if we can find Lotus. You might have to run on a memory trying to parse it. You see there? The chip memory is just dropping. Because it is a really hard time parsing this large of a directory. But I need the file name, which is a problem. Because these names are not ideal. Was there? And that's the thing, too. It's just like, you know, maybe you wouldn't do it this way. So, evening, Brett, and welcome, Walter. Long time no see, everyone. There we go. There's Lotus. So the file name, of course, if I knew it was just Lotus, it was really, yeah. Yeah, we'll switch to games that have good audio. So Yes, it does have a custom sound chip, and that was what gave the Amiga such a big boost. Like, yep, I definitely do. So I mentioned earlier that's not something I've done yet. So, but what I'm gonna do now, you see, like this, this was multitasking out of the box. Now we're running Workbench, or we're running Kickstart 3.1, which is basically the last line from Commodore directly. So I'm gonna go to DH1. Going to I can't remember what the directory is called. Game transfer. Oh, I already forgot. Dang it. Game archive. Game. Oh, I'm gonna copy Lotus v11 underscore 0774.lha. Yeah, copy. It's a bit of a weird angle, so yep, exactly, and that's what I've looked at too. So I have this is a modern 512K trapdoor memory, and I definitely want to expand it to 1 meg. I just haven't got a chance to do that yet. So, let's see, copy. I forgot already. Lotus v1174 LHA to DH1 games. The reason I'm doing this is that you have to extract it as an LHA, as an archive. So it's a bit of a mess to do that because the directory is so full of other crap of all the games. It's not a good one to do that in. But I'd rather copy it somewhere else. So we go to games, and now we should see that there. We'll expand this. Again, this is all fully multitasking directly. Hey, Foil. Hi. Directly multitasking from Commodore back in the day, and it works just flawlessly. I mean, with the memory limitation and everything, with the fact that it just runs and works so well. Workbench was something else. I mean, they were cooking, but then they didn't keep cooking, and it died off. So we need to extract LHA X Lotus E11 0774.lha. There we go. Now we're just extracting. You see the disk 1, which is basically a image then of the disk that the game normally would come on, and the WHD load handles the quote-unquote redirect to run it from a hard drive, which is much more convenient. So, but yeah, this of course is done on the processor now as well, like everything else when we're extracting, but LHA is the format that all these use. So now, we'll go to games and do a update. We now have clean up Lotus. Lotus should run without the expanded. So, interesting enough, what I'm watching this on, I'm actually using a GBS control in between to be able to play this on my PC CRT, because the Amiga output's 15 kilohertz. I mean, it was not intended for use on PC monitors, because, I mean, this predates the VGA standard even, right? So, and it normally outputs RGB, which is what, well, it does, outputs RGB. And I'm actually using the GBS control in my capture chain here, not to capture it because I couldn't get a clean capture from that. You're capturing directly actually right now with the data path, but I'm looking at my CRT so I can actually see this, because normally you can't plug that directly in. So let's try Lotus. That should run. That's an older game, so. Here it is. Yeah, the music. Yeah, if you like this type of music and this type of sound, the Amiga is just blaster. This is what makes the Amiga so amazing. It's just that the multimedia capabilities on it are just top notch, especially for the era. Look at this, it's just like car stat porn here, just to make it really hammer home how cool the Lotus is. And also, for those not aware, the sound on the Amiga is split between, so there's 2 channels on each side, left and right. So they actually get pretty creative how they mix that together to make it sound properly. So you could basically, if you mute one side, you only hear half the music, if that makes sense. So, okay, can we play the game? All right, thanks for dropping by. Computerized gears, yeah. Oh, this is a cool thing. They have a... We're just gonna listen to some Lotus songs here. Yeah, if you like this kind of stuff, Amiga is just fantastic. There's so many games and music pieces, stuff like that, are just... I just love the fact. I mean, the presentation is just amazing. So, 6600 amps of radio, cassette, CD, 6-speaker system, 300 watts, music search, auto reverse. Back in the 90s when they were, or late 80s and 90s when they were putting all the stuff, on the stereos in the cars to show all the cool things. It's just funny because I think that when you're playing some of this stuff on the Amiga, you realize like how many things you might have heard of elsewhere. Like, if that makes sense. You may not have seen it or heard it on the Amiga directly, but then you have just run into it, especially listening to video game music in general. Some are better than others, but again, these games have to be ported to NTSC to run at 60 Hz, otherwise they run too fast. I have an example of that. And that's kind of a bummer, is that ideally you have a PAL Amiga versus an NTSC. However, if you upgrade it the correct way and add the right chips, then you can switch it in software, and then you're best of both worlds, basically. And that's what Amiga 2000 does. I basically launch an NTSC in the desktop, and then when I play games, I switch it to PAL. So, and I have a monitor to support both of those, of course. Interestingly enough, if you played the game Top Gear on Super Nintendo, you might recognize some of these tracks, because they actually were made by the same studio, and they ported or translated some of those songs into Super Nintendo, which sounded really good too. Top Gear is a great soundtrack. Ooh, that's a great idea. I love listening to MIDI tracks on all these different MIDI modules and stuff, especially the SC55. I mean, it sounds fantastic. We're not here to play games, just listen to Amiga music. I don't know why it strikes such a chord, no pun intended, but it's just that era, I guess. And think about it this way, this sound chip had this capability in 1985. That era was, you think about what was available, the PC had basically a PC speaker at the time, and the Mac had, you know, the basic stuff from the Macintosh and everything, but this is why the Amiga was so revolutionary when it came out. But then, of course, they didn't keep up with the times, so. Hi there, Revenant, welcome. Yes. There's a version of Desert Strike on here as well, but it does the Genesis and Super Nintendo intro for Desert Strike. But the Desert Strike version of Amiga is actually very well done. It's very high production quality. Yeah, alright, we'll pick this one. We're not gonna play that long, because it's, I mean, it's a super scalar, quote-unquote, game. Oh, okay. Well, that worked well. So, great, it crashed. Never mind. Good racing. I guess the music was good. We may have run out of memory, actually. Who knows? Still a work in progress, this Amiga, and also the NTSC thing is a little annoying, which ones work or not. So, yeah, it is hardcore mode. We'll try a different one. Another one that's... Actually, I'm going to show in Pinball Dreams. You'll see what I mean. This music, even though this is the NTSC, that's true. It's real. The Pinball series of games have fantastic music as well. But interesting enough, this is the NTSC version. I'm not sure if they managed to code it incorrectly when they packaged it up for HDL load, or... But the intro music here runs way too fast. The music in the tables seems to run just fine, but the music in the intro here seems to be too quick. And it has the vibe of the HAL to 60, so... This should be slower, but this has just also phenomenal music. And the pinball games that came out here, the Fantasies, Swedish made, by the way. Yeah, this shouldn't be this fast, so... They were huge hits, and this is what started DICE, which you now know. Well, DICE, yeah, Digital Illusions, this is how it started with these pinball games, so... Not at all. But the makers of these games went, like, you know, big bucks money pretty quickly, because these games sold like crazy. There was, like, the top-tier pinball games at the time for computers. But yeah, this should run slower, and that's kind of a bummer. I'm not sure why it does this here, but that's why playing games with PAL is highly preferred. And I will get the chip that lets me do that. I can do that on the Amiga 2000, so I'm not in a hurry for this one. But I will upgrade it to make it better, run better. So that's a really good pinball game. This one I played a little bit and it did not crash, but now, full disclosure, I'm terrible at pinball games on computer, but I still love them, so. Talking about, ow. And these games are actually pretty hard, but just the smooth scrolling and production quality was something else. This is from 1990, keep that in mind, so. Oh, not in the middle! Oof. I'm very good at pinball, as you can tell. Hey, something happened. So the kicker with that is that not all games got a port for, especially a lot of, you know, what I quote-unquote call European platforming games. The Amiga was kind of littered with those, and we'll see a few examples, but just kind of like a unique style. A little over-detailed, a little sluggish in movement. I feel it's the typical Amiga platformer. And there were so many of those released, and most of them for PAL. So I think there's like 200-ish games on PAL, and there's like 5 times that probably on PAL, or sorry, on NTSC. Like, I'm actually doing pretty good. Better than I usually do. So that does limit the NTSC Amiga a little bit on what it can do. If you want a true gaming machine, or if you're doing an emulation, you definitely run them in PAL mode. So, and especially if you're going to run demos, like the demo scene is huge, right? On the Amiga with the music and all that stuff. And that all needs to be run in PAL. Wow, I don't want to break my streak here now. Oh, physics. Of course, I'm sitting in a very weird angle too, so if I lose a ball now, I'm going to blame it on that, as you can tell, because the Amiga is a wedge computer out of the 500, and it's got the keyboard integrated, so you can't exactly have the computer elsewhere. But as I've set up the streaming again here now, I think I'm going to like kind of tear out my streaming setup a little bit and just kind of redo it, because although it's worked well, it just has always have been a little awkward, so I'm going to try and rethink how I can make it work better. Oh, this may be the best first ball I've ever had in a pinball game. That tells you something. Oh, denied. But think about this from this era, too. So 1990, what were your options for digital pinball, right? There weren't that many, and these games were just, especially like as a showcase for like Amiga, and the production quality in these games are excellent. Graphics, the sound, the feel. Ow. All good times must come to an end. Ow. Oh, yeah, 2GS. So the 2GS I knew was interesting because to me, you have the Atari ST, you have the Amiga, and then the 2GS for the 16-bit, trilogy, as it were. Atari ST came out first, and I think it's unfairly compared to the Amiga a lot because the ST was actually pretty popular for quite a while there, before the Amiga came out and then kind of overshadowed it. But they did not necessarily coexist that long, even though people tend to attribute it to that. But the 2GS, I would love to have one to fill out the 16-bit thing, but from what I understand, there are not that many games that take advantage of it. So, if I understand it right, and I could be wrong, the 2GS relied heavily on its backwards compatibility to Apple II software, and there weren't that many games or software to take advantage of the GS. There we go, now it's just going downhill. We're gonna finish this out now, because now I'm committed. But anyway, little sample size so far, the Amiga is well worth exploring. It's got a huge games library, and honestly, it's super easy to emulate, so you can emulate it on almost nothing. You can do a directly on your computer with WinUAE, just Amiga Forever. You can actually buy it officially and own the software, so. And you can do it through FPGA. Again, you have real hardware as well, but there's so many options for that now. Yeah, true. It needs to feel more appropriate for an old setup. It's very haphazard. Yes, there's definitely a... there is, for the Mister, there is a core for the Amiga, and it runs great. So much music in this game. It's great. And that was one table out of 4. So there were Pinball Dreams, Pinball Fantasies, and one other one I can't remember now, I think. All like these pinball games that were very popular, so. Oh, that's the way it's set up right now. You know, I don't think I've heard this track. Maybe I don't play through the game. Yeah, I can show the setup and everything. Right now, I have, like, the mixer board is a wire mess over there. Capture thing is a wire mess. The Mister is a wire mess over here, and then cables everywhere, and it's just... it's awful. And the picture I put in Discord of the retro corner, and that's what I'm trying to set up, right? You'll see it probably whenever I get around to making a video as the backdrop. There we go. That's Pinball Dreams. And it's a pinball game. We can check this out one, too, because this is, of course, epic. However, also, finding Turrican is incredibly difficult. So WHL is cool because they can actually do basically action replay codes that they've added in here. You can launch the game a certain way. Turrican is just... especially here, because I got 3 systems under the table here now. The Amiga 500 up here, a CRT here, all the audio and capture stuff, and then the Mister wiring, so it's just not exactly wireless, so what do you do? Turrican does not have iframes at all, which makes this game so brutally hard. If you get hit, you do not bounce or, like, you know, have a second to recover. You just keep losing health. And that's made it to me that I can never, ever sit down and play Turrican properly. And maybe there's a way to turn it on or use a cheat. I know there's a trainer thing to get you basically unlimited lives. You'll still be dying over and over. But the music is still fantastic. Yeah, I move stuff. So the way I built my setup here for streaming, and of course I haven't streamed in a long time now, is that I have 3 machines hooked up at all times. And then I have a guest spot, if that makes sense, so I can always slot in a machine as needed. But if I want to play anything on the DOS/Pentium 1 era, I have a machine for that. If I want to play anything with the P3 Windows 98 era, I have that, and XP. They're all hooked up through a KVM at all times, so I can switch to those. And then the guest slot then is where I bring in whatever random computer I might be, tinkering with or something. But that way I can always, like, you know what, I'm just going to play a DOS game, fire that up, I don't have to plug anything in to do that. Yeah, for those that are aware, Chris Hulsbeck is a German composer, and he's done a ton of video game music in Turrican, Turrican 2, and the list is just endless. The music he makes is just amazing. But I'll show you here how difficult it is, so. Notice how much health? I've already lost a fourth of my health there by just touching those guys there. And it's like... Great job. Turrican 2 is probably the better game overall. And of course, Amiga has one button. So, you jump by pressing up, which is not okay. Terrible. But that's what you had. It was one button. So you gotta, like, push up. See, and there you go, there's a life. And I'm not saying I'm good at this game. Don't get me wrong, I'm terrible at it. But the no iframes makes it probably the hardest part of this game. Not directly. What you can do is... So yes, to both your questions there, Bruce and Sucre, is that you can buy a gamepad that lets you remap it. People do it all the time. That you can buy from like AmigaStore.eu, for example, which is a Amiga parts supplier. You can buy it where it has a 3-button thing where one of those buttons is bound to up. So, and you can do that, of course, if you do it in FPGA, you can do that as well, and that's highly recommended. But there are ways around it. But a stock controller, which I'm using here, which is a TAC2 joystick, which is probably the most famous one for the Amiga. It's very tactile, as the name implies. However, this particular one, the button's worn, doesn't work very well, so this one works better. This one is sort of... I gotta take it apart and clean it. So, yeah. It works, but, it's a thing that... that's right. Sucre and I went to VCF Midwest here last fall, right, and... I wanted a TAC2 joystick for a while, and I found one sitting. I found the one sitting in a bin that was in pretty good condition. I got it pretty cheap, and then they had a second one. Bought that one as well to have a spare. And then later on, in just a pile of controllers, they were just like, "Oh, $5 per controller." So, then I just grabbed that one. So that's right. Revenue was there too. I don't want to forget him. Now, I did buy the room for VCF Midwest for... But I haven't 100% that I'm going to go yet or not, but I did book the room just to make sure I had a spot if I needed to. I mean, VCF Midwest is probably the most fun thing for me as far as like that kind of event, so it was really fun to see everyone. Yeah, let's add some murder spikes too. Surprise! I didn't say I was going to go. No, you didn't. I just booked the room. I saw them open. I forgot to mention it, but I just booked it right away. So, you got the kids, right? See ya. Oh, God. Lag. Oh. Game over. Happy Turrican time. No, I don't want to continue. That's Turrican. Again, I love the concept of Turrican, but it is so so hard to play. Near impossible, honestly. I'm going to play this one very long, but I want to show... this is a 3D game as well. It was a polygonal 3D, and this was on Genesis and SNES as well, and it runs horribly slow, I think. And there was actually a patch on the SNES using the SA1 chip to speed it up and made it actually playable, because the frame rates of this on the SNES is just awful. I would like to go to VCF East as well at some point, so. Yeah, that's alright, Turrican. It's always next year, too. I know you have a little bit of a longer travel time. I mean, I hop in a car and I drive for a few hours and I'm there. You gotta fly continents, so, you know. Of all the sound, I know a lot of people love, like, the Genesis/Mega Drive sound. And I have a soft spot for Super Nintendo. There's great music on there, but it doesn't have the same, like, sound to it. But Amiga, my goodness, there's so much good music and good stuff on Amiga, so. Hard driving. Yeah, we're not. Auto. Oh, we're driving with the mouse. Whoa! This runs very... I'm on a road, I swear. What's going on here? Are you immersed yet? I have no idea what's going on. Maybe it's better if this runs really slow. There we go, we're just driving now calmly here. Look at that. 90? I'm not gonna drive 90 here. I'm just gonna drive nice and leisurely. Oh, we got a car. Oh, it's probably a British game, huh? Yeah, this runs extremely slow on the stock Amiga, but this is where the accelerator comes in hand, right? Because it's not... It makes it playable. Those miles per hour, so... looking at the speedometer down there, it says miles per hour, but it makes it playable, right? This is more than enjoyable. It's perfectly fine. I think we'll get there automatic. Whoa! Got temp and amp and useful information. Checkpoint. Gas stations. Oh, you know, I never play this game very far because either I'm playing it on the stock Amiga, which is dog slow, or I'm playing it on something that's way too fast, so. Alright, we're gonna... Can we? No. Dead. It exploded. What the hell's in this car? Yep. Stunt. Full speed ahead. That's automatic. Can I not do this one? Nope. I love the... Alright, what happens if you crash here now? Replay. Okay, the physics are a little wonky. Yeah, not a game I probably sit down to play to enjoy, so... I don't have a lot of other games on here. I'll check SimCity, but then we'll go into the pile and look, because there's a few other games that, of course, that were iconic on the Amiga we have to grab as well. And that's what I wanted to do, is that it's... I didn't want to put every single game on here. Now, I have it as an archive, right, that you saw earlier, and I want to be able to copy over and extract the games I want to play versus just, like, having 2,000 games on here. And eventually, I'll build up enough that I have the games that I want, right? Here's also an interesting thing. What you saw there was Kickstart 1.3. Again, this is Kickstart 3.1. What it does is called a soft kick. Some games need that compatibility, so it actually downgrades the BIOS, basically, through a software. So let's see, for questions here, Mike Boy, sort of, yes, it does, through FTP. So the Amiga by default has no network capability, and at least integrated directly as it is. So the 500 above all, because it has no network ports. The big box Amiga supports actually expansion cards with networking. So it had a TCP/IP stack and all that stuff back in the day. There's a modern version now called Roadshow, which is paid for, which I paid a few bucks for, which gives you a much easier to use TCP/IP stack. Okay, so you got that. Now you have that going. Not integrated by default in the operating system. Next, you need a hardware to connect, right? And they have what's called a flip box, which is it uses the Dyna port on the parallel port to translate to network. So you basically at that point have a network port through your parallel port. It's not fast, but it works, and that's what I've been using. So you launch an FTP client on here, and you can connect retro NAS through FTP, and then you can transfer files that way. So that's what I do on my big box Amiga if I want to grab something off the NAS. So yes, it does work. You can, you might be able to do it easier on the FPGA, probably integrated networking. And that is to say that if you have a network card, you can buy, I think it's called Xsurf, and it's about $150 for big box Amiga. Then it's a normal, more plug-and-play solution. It's an Ethernet, plug it in, you're done kind of thing with just the drivers for it. But because the flip box is using a parallel port, that's where it gets a little wonky. So, but it's doable. You can also use a Blue SCSI if you use it as a hard drive. There's a driver for that to use Wi-Fi on it. You use the Pico W and use the Wi-Fi on that to connect and transfer that to TCP/IP access on Amiga itself. So that's an option too. But you probably have more options on the Mister at this point. So, let's see. As far as settlers, yes, we have that as well. We'll run that in a minute here too. We just got to copy it. So what I was saying there is that I have all the games on here. They're just not ready to run because I wanted to like grab the games as I needed them. And I can't say I've played a ton of this. Is sound? I don't know. I'll get into it. I'm not gonna play SimCity that long, but there you go. I prefer the Super Nintendo version. SimCity here is probably one of the more early versions, right? It's kind of truthful, but here's something cool too. We can do this. Now it's running in the kick mode here, which is the soft kick to run 1.3. So you can't tab back. Otherwise, in some games, you can actually go directly. Of course, now it's just going to not play nice. So, all right, we'll exit out of that. In some games and some software, you can do it directly on the fly. So, yeah, exactly. SimCity is dangerous because you get into it, but it's not my favorite version on here. I do love SimCity, but I do really like the Super Nintendo version. I think that's kind of like the best version of SimCity, in my opinion, on the standard one. SimCity 2000 is something different, of course, but actually, this is interesting too. There's a bit of software I run called NoClick. By default, the Amiga will check the disk drive every few seconds. You hear click, click, click. That's kind of traditional with the Amiga, and this is a resident program that takes some memory that will turn that off because it is annoying, very annoying, but it's what it is. Let's see. I also have. Now let's play another game. So let's take a look at the game archive. Let's get one. And I would copy these directly from command line if I knew the name. And unfortunately, there's no easy way to slow down the scroll right, so that's the problem. I'm going to grab Cannon Fodder, because that is such an iconic game for the Amiga for me, and the one that I played quite a bit, actually, back then. And I can feel the heat from the accelerator under the... I mean, it's fine. The case is ventilated, very well ventilated by stock. And... but you can still feel the heat spot where the 6830 processor is doing its thing, so... view by name. Chew up the memory. Yeah, ran out of memory. Whoops. Yeah, I really need to do the 1 meg chip RAM, but it's really limiting. The Amiga 2000's got a mega chip upgrade, so it has 2 megs total chip RAM, which gives you anything you need, so... You see, there's a lot of NTSC games, so it's not like you're hurting for it. So, did it run out of memory before it could even list everything here? I guess so. Come on, give me max of memory. Yeah, so the problem is when you get into these directories that are huge, right? It needs to parse out of memory. And there might be ways and software, probably are, to try and redirect some of that to fast mem instead of running it on chip mem. Because right now, it's not using any of that memory for parsing this directory, right? So... can't even do... okay, well, we have to reboot it to free the memory here. Gonna do that quick. So it's Control Amiga reboots the system. So, and normally you would get the kickstart image where it basically says insert floppy, but because we have a hard drive in it, it's going to go right there in there. And we're back. You can't hear it now, but because that resident memory has, or program hasn't loaded yet, there it loaded. Until that point, I was hearing yeah, there we go. It didn't store how to our viewing now, so I'll have to do it the hard way here. So, it didn't store the window there, but the clicking on the floppy drive stopped there. So, and it still has functional floppy drive. It still works just fine. The idea being is to load the vast majority of games from hard drive is just easier. You can use the ADF files and stuff like that too on Gotex, but I actually picked up a lot here not long ago of just random Amiga software, and it's just copies, whole bunch of copies. So it is not a strength. The way Amiga renders graphics, it is not conducive to FPS. There are ways around it, and there were some, I think Gloom, there's some modern ones coming out. People have figured out how to operate around the limitations, but it is not a good one for FPSs. It had a surprising amount of like strategy games, I would say. A lot of strategy games. Good ones, so. Come on. Otherwise, I'll just look it up in the over here, the name too. That might save some time. Let's do that. All right, forget this. I don't want to look it up here. So I'm going to look at, I have the where I copied it from over on the computer so I can find the name on it. So we're going to do this. DH1. You can name these anything you want to. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I don't know the technical details exactly, but the way that it renders graphics is just not. I think MVG did a video on it, because there's Numa games coming out that uses it and does it. But like, for example, there's a famous email from John Carmack. Someone was saying like, why aren't you porting Doom to the Amiga? And he went into great detail, like it's just not technically possible, or more likely, not feasible to make it run anywhere remotely smooth or whatever. Because the way it presents graphics is just not compatible to how you'd have to be like do the triple the work per frame, and you have a slow processor to begin with. It's just not practical. So, but there are games that do it. So, yeah, let's see. Yeah, there you go. CD game archive, CDC, and then let's copy Fodder scroll 086 .lha DH1 games. There. I didn't have to look it up now because I can look over at the list I have on the computer where I copied them from. So the cool thing is if you run WinUAE and run Amiga on your computer as an emulator, you can create a shared folder from your PC. You can just target a directory, and then anything that's in that directory can show up as a folder on your Amiga, and you can just copy files directly that way. So it's a great way to get stuff in and out, because something to remember here now, the file system used on Amiga is not directly DOS compatible in a sense. You can't just mount a DOS one. There are utilities and stuff like that around it, and there's some DOS compatibility, but it's still, it's not a direct one-to-one in that sense, right? So that's why there's limitations on how you can just copy files to the Amiga. So, but there are ways around it. So, EH1, have that CD games. Go LHA. I did copy some other games we can extract. I didn't realize I got Super Off-Road. I'll have to extract that as well. Actually, yeah. LHA X, and then we have Canon Fodder. Actually, it's got something neat. It actually has residency for your commands. So I can do this. LHAX. It's really, the operating system was ahead of its time, really, on many regards, and it's actually very usable. Like, it's not a huge challenge to get used to it. Like, sure, some of the commands might be hard to figure out in the beginning, but it's just makes sense in general. It's very intuitive to use, and it just tends to work when you have enough memory, of course. So, yeah, when you have something like that going on, there is definitely a port of Doom that was done later. Because you think about it, Amiga now with the accelerators and the Pi Storm, which emulates an Amiga to the nth degree, the actual CPU can make it run way faster than any Amiga. You open up the door then to run stuff like that realistically on it. A stock Amiga 500 will never run a port of Doom any remote reasonable frame rate. But with enough acceleration, you can kind of brute force your way through it. So there are ports of that. I think there's even a Quake port for Amiga, which that's limited to extreme acceleration, like Pi Storm, like we just discussed there. But so for those not aware, they take a Raspberry Pi, they replace the CPU, and the Pi runs a CPU emulator on it that emulates the 68000 processor. You can then emulate a 68060, which is much faster at like 100 megahertz, something silly like, maybe not that fast, but really fast, which makes it way faster. It skirts the line on emulation at that point because you're not, like, this is running an actual Motorola processor in it right now. 68030 at 25 megahertz. It's real hardware. I'm not a real hardware snob, but at some point, putting a Pi Storm in an Amiga 500 makes it so close to emulation that you may be better just running directly on your computer. I don't know. I mean, it's still cool that it exists, and it's really neat because it adds a lot of features to it, like hard drive, and access to files. And I mean, it opens up the world as far as what it can do because it's a Raspberry Pi. So, okay, now we should have Cannon Fodder on here. So we'll play that a little bit because that is a game I like. If it works, I guess. That's the kicker. It's interesting because I have not had really any problems on the Amiga 2000, but I run the games in PAL mode. This is NTSC, so if you want... Oh, sad trombone. Never mind. We're not doing Cannon Fodder. Never mind. I didn't want to play Cannon Fodder anyway. Who needs that? But yeah, I really need to do the 1 megabyte chip mod for sure. Let's see. What's another good game for... Got a Desert Strike on. Let's see if they did it with... Yeah, just a Desert Strike. So, yeah, I really do the chip RAM. You see how many limitations you have, and that has to do more with the WHD load requires more memory than the Amiga has available. So, a stock Amiga will run from floppy, but to run the wrapper to run the WHD load program to load from hard drive, that's the problem. So if I rebooted the Amiga and ran these from floppy directly, they would just run probably. But to run them from hard drive requires more memory. So that's why you need the 1 megabyte chip RAM. So that's really why you get limited. So I think they've done that with the NES, right, and stuff like that. And you can basically let the NES or SNES display the video. It's just a video processor, and then the actual offloading can be done on the Pi. And at that point, you can run virtually anything, right? So it's like, oh, we got, Quake running on a SNES. Well, it's not running on that. It's running on the Pi. It's just using the video out, as an example, right? Yeah, you can do all that stuff too, I think so. Copy strike B4. Dang it, I missed. Yes, sir. Oh, I forgot a T. There we go. So, you know what? Interesting enough, I think that the Amiga has its own unique intro and demo stuff. It's not the same music, and I love the music that goes on a Super Nintendo because it goes super hard. It's great. This one has it's different. Like the gameplay itself is the same, but it's very different. It has a big like cutscene intro and everything. Kind of showing off a little bit of the chops of the Amiga there. So now we should have LJX. Doppler, welcome. We also have Lemmings too, of course. That's a classic one. So hopefully this is not 191 meg chip RAM as well. I'm finding out that there's a lot of limitations with that apparently. I really need to get that taken care of at that point. So it's a soldering mod where you basically let the system use that memory for chip RAM that exists in the expansion base. So I'll probably do that sooner rather than later based on this stuff, which should be pretty simple. And you don't lose that much by losing the half a meg of fast RAM because that's already on the expansion or the accelerator. It has 4 meg, so we don't need any more. Yeah, it's got the Genesis with the Yamaha sound chips got like a twangy or like dirty sound, which can, when used correctly, like there's a game, Xenocrisis came out recently from Bitmap Bureau on the Genesis, and that sounds amazing. So, yeah, I think that the SNES, the biggest thing they did with that was make it expandable. So you have the custom chips. You think about the base performance on the SNES is pretty low. Even one of the later expansion chips, the SA1, runs faster than the SNES ever could, like itself. It's more powerful than the console. It was built with expansion in mind, I think. So with the expansion port on the bottom, that was intended for the CD add-on, I think, or anything they had in mind. All right, let's see if Deathstroke runs. Just have to do it live. It's funny because I see the compact flash adapter over here blinking as it's accessing, and that normally would be a, you know, hey, all right. Infinite lives, energy, weapon. Sure, yeah, that's great. Like cheating. Ooh, I forgot to change that. There we go. I bet you're waiting for that, Bruce, for that. Nope. That's a completely bespoke custom intro. Yeah, it's all sample, right? That's the whole point. That's why the Super Nintendo's got such a weird sound to it, or kind of, it sounds pretty muted, I think, versus the Genesis got a very clean, well, it's dirty sound. Okay, got target right there. You can tell it is very sample, but this is actual capture, I think, or from Goal 4 for this. It has its own vibe to it, but yeah, the sound chip in this is gotta have the 90s sound captures. Yeah, it doesn't have that same, like, you know, oh man, let's go sound as the Super Nintendo version, because I do love that intro. But it's its own thing, so, and yeah, you're right. This is very CNC. I don't think Frank Klepacki composed this, but General Kilbaba. Yeah, it's again, I don't know why they went so hard on doing cutscenes and like really, you know, high production quality in this one to make it like really fancy. I can only imagine. I don't know how many floppies this came on, but it feels like one of those games where you had the intro on one floppy and the game on the second one. Some of the games on the Amiga were just, especially on the floppy side, were brutal. They had so many floppies because they were 720K floppies. Most games were 1, 2, maybe 3, but some of them were like, well, example. So I have the box for Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis here for Amiga. And let's see. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 floppies for Indiana Jones and Fate of Atlantis. Now I have the CD-ROM version for CD for the PC, which is a talkie one. But yeah, this is not talkie at all. And I wouldn't consider the LucasArts games like that to be that brutal. I think Monkey Island is less, but it's the big game is big enough, right? That's the problem. It's just pure data. The scenes, all the movements and all the stuff that's in there. And even better, the person, which is what actually was recommended by many manufacturers back in the day, or game developers, is that you make a copy of the floppy, yes, and not run it native. So this guy made copies. So there's another stack of 11 floppies in here of the same games, so that you wouldn't be running and wearing out your original copy. So this box has 22 floppies in it, which makes it quite heavy. Versus the CD-ROM talkie version I have, which is just one CD in there. So, I actually got the receipt in here where he bought it from too. It's pretty cool. The only thing that's kind of sad is that they cut out the D in here for use for something. I don't know. Maybe they were doing ransom letter or something. So the box is pristine, except it's missing the letter D. It's kind of a bummer. Actually, I can compare, because I got Monkey Island 2 here for Amiga as well. And that one is also 11 discs, it looks like. Yep, so it must be like the Scum games or whatever. So yeah, there's 11 floppies in here too for Monkey Island 2. You see where, as the games got bigger, the Amiga was kind of a pain in the butt to use. You were swapping discs non-stop, so... Yeah, we can try that too. So, okay. Start. I love the fact that, like, a madman has invaded another country. Send in the one chopper. They'll take care of it. A lot of like, my neighbor he played Monkey Island, and he played it for a long time on the Amiga. I remember coming over there and seeing how far he got, and, he made a little progress, things like that. And it's very iconic to me, how it sounds in the Amiga and everything, so... I think Monkey Island's in this pack, but I am afraid that it's one of those that needs more memory, so... I'll have to fix that right away, because that's limiting. Yeah, I'm not gonna go there, but yeah. There you go, it's, say, go save the world, boys. It's armed.
Over here. Over here.
They use the sampling a lot in the Amiga. There's a lot of voices and stuff like that, so... Take that, water tower. Now I'm playing on... I don't have any unlimited health right now, so, Unlimited ammo. This game is really difficult because you run out of ammo and fuel, and... What did it say originally in the beginning? 91? It was developed in 90 and 91. I mean, it was based on Gulf War, so... I played on the Super Nintendo for sure most. I think I probably only made it through... No, it's got, I forgot what key it is. I gotta find it again here now. Trying to find what key it was for opening. There we go. Like 9. So this is there's no HUD. But you can go in here and then select your different, like, options and see what your objectives are, your status. Yeah. Yeah, the Strike series. So Desert Strike was the first one. It was based on the Gulf War. Then there was Jungle Strike, kind of like South America. There was Urban Strike and Nuclear Strike. I think that was the end of that. And Nuclear Strike is, I think, a 3D effects kind of game, right? So that was the last of raw there. But if you like isometric games, it's cool, but it is very difficult. Soviet Strike, I forgot that one too. That was like, I have that one on the Saturn. Yeah, there's a Strike series. I'm surprised it hasn't made a comeback, but... Use Hydra missiles to blow these guys up, and there's our missing pilot. You're thinking of a mech assault or a mech commander? Here, the up thing with the joystick isn't as bad, right? But the basic premise is that you're doing missions to knock out defenses and capture people and that kind of stuff. And I don't think I even got to the second stage as a kid when I was playing, because it's difficult, because you have to balance your health, your ammo, your fuel. If your fuel runs out, you just crash. And yeah, same thing. The missiles is that you have a certain amount of missiles, certain amount of ammo. If you run out of those, you have to find more. So it's a resource game more than it's just pure action, and it's challenging. There's a game coming out called Cleared Hot, which I'm all excited about. It looks interesting. It's basically the continuation of the Strike games, but with physics, and you can pick up things and fling them at them, and it looks interesting. But yeah, Cleared Hot. I think it's not out on Steam yet, but I'm going to pick it up when it comes out, because it looks fun. But I hate to game hop too much, but that's the Strike is... I just want to show the intro and stuff. Ooh, Future Cop LAPD. There's a lot of those top-down, like, walk around or blow things up. I really enjoy those games. Found a secret bunker. But it's not open yet. Yeah, normally then you have to find fuel. Uh-oh. I think we're taking the highway. Normally, they don't recommend you going here because you're basically going out of step with the recommended path now. And you gotta find POWs and save them, too. It's a tactical action game, if that makes sense. Really? I didn't realize that, but... Anyway, yeah, we're not gonna play Death Strike too long because it's just... That's a Strike, so... Settlers were... Well, now we're talking to Monkey Island, too. Let's do that. So, interestingly enough, I don't think... I'm not sure this is NTSC, the Monkey Island one. I can try and run the actual floppies off it and see. Because this might be the PAL version, then. Because I don't see it in the bundle there, but we can try it. Let's see if the actual floppies work. I'm not hopeful for that, but we can certainly try. Why am I thinking? Monkey Island, what we're going to try. We can do the intro to Monkey Island as well. We'll have to check that out. Oh, maybe we'll do that first. I'm hopping around too much. The intro to Monkey Island on the Amiga music is really good. So, Silent Service, yeah, a little bit. I played. All right, everyone, thanks for stopping by. Fun seeing you again. So, touch base later. I did play called Aces of the Deep as a U-boat simulator. So I didn't play the U-boat stuff until that point in time, and I do have that for DOS here now. I don't think I played Silent Service, but I did like the tension of the U-boat simulator and like all the strategic stuff that comes with it. So back to command line. EH1. Arc. I forgot. Game archive. Made sense in my head when I created the folder. Now I can't even remember what it's called. So, and then we will go to copy. There's so many games on S, it would be real difficult to of version 3.71625 LHA to PH1 games. Get it right? First try. All right. I think that's really cool. They're releasing the source code, and I love that when developers do that because, I mean, I think they realize that Command & Conquer is not really going anywhere right now, right? There are interesting potential spiritual successors. Tempest Rising is coming out soon, and if you haven't looked that up, it's the music is made by Frank Klepacki, and it's pretty much a Command & Conquer in all but name. Base building, harvesting, all the stuff you'd expect, and it looks really, really good. Different factions, stuff like that, and so I'm glad to see that they're releasing source code, and we might see a lot of good ports and a lot of good like improvements. So yeah, I'm a little surprised they haven't done that because they really need to do Red Alert 2, Red Alert 2 and Tiberian Sun, yeah, as a remaster. Because they really, really need to do that. Because the remaster collection was amazing, but I don't know if there's enough drive at EA to do that at this point, I guess. So, but yeah, that would be really, really good if they did. PH1 games. See, like, it's not even case sensitive. Like, how the command lines I'm running now are not that complicated, right? And the fact that it just kind of works, it's not too bad. So, absolutely, yeah. They really, I'm hoping at some point they do, but I'm not sure because I felt like the price for the remastered edition or collection dropped really fast. So I'm not sure how much purchasing power was, and that probably drives EA's desire to do it because it probably wasn't that expensive. So, okay, so now I can do this, and I don't have to type the name again. The fact that you can do this directly with no extra stuff. LHAX. Even DOS doesn't have resident up memory for command by default. We'll see if this runs, though. Yeah. It really was good. It was everything you'd want in a remaster, I think. It was beautifully done. I had to play it more, too. I didn't finish the campaign yet or anything on it, so... But I did buy the big box for it. We're going to try Monkey Island and just listen to the music. Hear how great it sounds. It's funny because the amount of games we played now that needs acceleration is pretty few. But it does make 3D games passable. And there was a lot of flight simulators on the Amiga, and most of those did not run great. Quite a few flight simulators. I have a few of them, actually, in box. But that helps a lot, too, because anything polygonal like that, which is offloaded directly on the CPU, that's all it had. All those games are helped by that. But some, I think, are running locked. I don't remember. There's a game called Hunter, which was an open world game back in the day, and it let you walk around. You were basically a commando on a mission. You can pick out or go into vehicles and drive, go into buildings, pick up stuff, and you had an objective to complete. And it was pretty basic in that sense, but the fact it ran on a fully polygonal 3D world was pretty freaking impressive. And I think that game might be hard locked on speed, so you can't run it faster. So that might be. Okay, let's see if Monkey Island works. Okay, fingers crossed it doesn't need 1 mega chip RAM. We'll find out pretty quick. Oh, it ran. All right, sweet. All right. I just want to listen to the intro of Monkey Island on the Amiga. Fingers crossed it works. It did not. I think that's actually a, let's see. I can fix that. You have to add a command here. So, where'd that go? Oh, there. So, the information here is basically the extra command lines you would run. I think that's it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to look it up. So, it's basically telling WHCLO what options to run the game with. And I think the auto vector has to do with memory management. I think that's an option. I always have to look in WHCLO settings, but gets further this time. What's the command? All right, I have to go and look in standby here. This is yeah, there we go. Add wht load.prefs. No auto-vec. No cache, those two. So basically it has to do with the toggle switches that WHD load is using to run the game. It can cause problems. So I think no write cache. This. And minimize that and leave it in the background. Look at that. I have to have that running, but the power of multitasking. Look at this. And I can just minimize that software and run it there. And again, this was available to do like in 1985. So yeah, and that's the thing. Some games just need. Oh, can I do it? Doesn't matter where I put it, so. Don't want to do additional lines. I already forgot. There was, let's see. No write cache. And new, and then there's another one. Yep, no cache. Try that and see what happens. I think those are the two compatibility, or all the compatibility options you can set. Now, I have running on the Amiga 2000, the similar issues. The AutoVec was the thing that was the right cat. Oh, we'll see. And maybe it doesn't work. I don't know. We'll see. God. Spice! You can't. For those not aware, that's from Red Alert 3 when Tim Curry is the Soviet guy. And he's trying to, like, talk about, now, bummer. I thought it was the auto vector. Might just not be enough memory, so. No auto vec. Got that right. That's a bummer. See if I can Google that real quick. Where's the mouse? I had an auto vec. Auto vec. Yeah, that's the one I should have avoided, so. Maybe we'll do a reboot just to make sure it's cleared. Yeah, it's interesting that WH load is a marvel, but it doesn't like run fantastic in some cases. So we have to comment out that we can do that as well. Yeah, okay, well, we'll just try and run it again and see what happens. Yeah, this is the Amiga thing, is that sure, a lot of stuff just kind of works. You know, it just works. And some stuff takes a little more time. Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, that I think that for me, the Phil's Computer Labs like startup script um, is what made DOS stuff much easier. Back in the day when I was a kid, it was just brutal trying to figure all that out, right? So it's no auto vec, but yeah, I don't set it in the default here. So let's see, CDS. I'm going to put it in the actual default prefs file here, and I'm going to take out the entries in here and let's see if we have any luck. So I think so, but we'll try. Oh yeah, that's part of the charm, right? And then you don't really play, you know, if you got it working. So yeah, that's what people are saying. It's just take the autovec, is gets rid of that NMI. I did change it. I made it the global setting. So in theory, it should have worked anyway, right? Because I had this set on the individual one, but retro computers, man, they just work. But yeah, I don't know enough about it, but so this is two computers that have the same problem on. So you think that maybe it's a thing that should be set by default for this, I suppose? I don't know. But the auto vector seems to be the most common one to get caught on, so you really should have it set by default, I think. Look who composed it. Chris Hillsbeck. So this is a game I want to... It's available on almost all retro systems I have. Yeah, the 4-voice Tandy or whatever is... Because this is rendered on... It's got to be probably the most, like... ported game almost, because it's on every single platform of the era. So there's a port on the Atari ST, there's a port on the Amiga, of course, PC, on the Macintosh. What street are you delivered to, Bruce? Yeah, I think that I could be wrong, but it feels Thriftweed. They made the Scum engine for this, which was like the scripting, what they call it. I can't remember what it's called. Scripting program. Nice. And I'm guessing they made that to be portable, probably. I think they ported all these LucasArts games to any one that would make logical sense. I think Maniac Mansion is on a lot of stuff too, right? So, but then it petered out as they went into newer games, especially getting into CD-ROM era. So. I am curious if the floppy version works, because the problem with Amiga floppies is that a lot of them didn't survive. They suffer from like disk rot and a whole bunch of stuff, but this one has to receive in the too. What do you pay back in the day? So let's see. Wow. He bought the box from Monkey Island 2 for $9.95. The shipping was $5.95. So that's cool. And this would have been in, let's see, what's the date here somewhere? 97. So it was pretty late. I mean, for Monkey Island 2. But that's a heck of a price for the big box for Monkey Island 2. So, yeah, I think there's plenty of them being made. The one that comes to mind that's decently recent is Thimbleweed Park. That's made exactly like a LucasArts point-and-click adventure game. And it's almost a spiritual successor to them. Almost like a Maniac Mansion style. And it's really good. And there's been plenty of other games too. I'm sure I'm not remembering any right now, but there's a ton of them, so. This actually slows down quite a bit on the stock Amiga, so this is fun to see. It's running like the speed you'd think it would. But that spinning guy there spins much slower, actually, on a stock Amiga, so that's pretty fun. Interesting enough, the floppies for the Monkey Island 2 are all black, except Disc 11 is blue. But we're going to try it. I don't have high hopes that this is going to work. We'll see. Amiga 500, 1000, 2000, 2500, 3000. 1992, LucasArts Entertainment Company. So, alright, so that's that. And now we're actually going to see then, since I don't have the WHD load on this one, the actual floppy working here, so. If it works, it should just show up. I can read it. Yep, Monkey 2, Disc 1. See. That's to install, but yep, there it is. So that's the problem with Amiga floppies, that most of them have not survived, and that's the challenge, right? That's why we have to rely on backup copies, floppy drive emulators, stuff like that, which is sad. You know, CDs last a lot better, but a lot of these Amiga floppies, especially the big box games I have, they just none of them work. Like maybe the ones that have 1 or 2 floppies, but anything that has like multi-floppies is no dice. We can try it here. Maybe it will run. The fact that it's an installer too is cool, which is nice when you have this many floppies. But then also a hard drive on an Amiga 500 or equivalent would have been, you know, a few megs, right, or 20 megs maybe. That's launching it. There's a copper protection wheel as well you have to use for this one, so it's not a cracked version, right? But how long will it take to load? There's the copy protection. Please press enter to begin label copy protection. All right, what does it got? So, first rewards, mix. So let's see, I need to figure out how the heck this works. Let's see, I need the crab one. There's that one. And then I need the loogie. Okay. I have that. And then let's see what it says. Mix crab scalps. Say that. I'm trying to decode this freaking coding thing. That makes sense, because a mix and mojo voodoo ingredient preparation dial. Worms, gout, scurvy, warts, trench mouth, tattoo rash, peg leg rot. I don't see anything about crab scalps. I do not have Loom, no, physically anyway. I have the limited run box, knowing that I would probably never find Loom directly. Don't know where it says the... Look in the manual to read this code wheel, because what I would assume is that you match up these two logos there, which I have, but then the crab scalps, gobs of spit, scalps them? No. I'm really confused. Recipe, oh, never mind. Recipe for wart. So it's 3619. 3619. Hey, all right, that makes sense. I was reading too much into it, so. It's still loading it. Please insert disk 3. Sure, let's see if disk 3 works. So, The cool thing with the Amiga is that if you have an additional floppy drive, an external one, it will automatically find it and read from there. So you could have 2 disks all the time. Disk 10, unless my friend had an external drive, so he would have, like, if there was a 2-disc game, he would have 2 disks at the same time. So you'd have to switch as much as I'm doing here now, because I only have one drive in here, which is the stock Amiga 500 experience. And we're increasing the risk every time. Oh, look at that. Awesome, but it is working. All right. Loaded. Dog. I'm curious, it doesn't seem to be running too fast, so this might be the... Oh, I was on Secret on Monkey Island for S, and I'm sure it's under Monkey Island. Mortal Kombat. We have Lemmings, of course, too. Please insert disc 1. This is the experience of playing an Amiga game like this. Yeah, it's fun. My friend, I think, when I was growing up, who had an Amiga, not across the street, but another one, I think had a Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and it was also like over 10 discs. It was something absurd, like 13 floppies or something like that, a big strategy game. And there's a lot of good strategy games on Amiga, too. It's a broad system. It's not just platformers. Like, there's a lot of these point-and-click adventure games, of course, too, but there's a lot of management games, like planetary management, like simulation games, like we talked about Settlers. There's strategy games like Battle Isle, real-time strategy, tactical strategy, military strategy. Lots of simulator games. Streaming the next notes from floppy. This is a great one to do with MIDI devices on PC because it can sound really good. Yeah, I think I like the MIDI one better. I use an external. That was good. Probably a market thing, I'm guessing, and also, it's not an insubstantial sized game, right? I don't know why they didn't do the point-and-click adventure games on the Super Nintendo. They probably just didn't think it was a proper market, because point-and-click, right? Maybe that they didn't want to take the time to figure out a good control scheme, maybe. And left it just with the controller. I mean, that'd make it a little challenging, I suppose, so. I feel like the sound is stepping on itself a little bit, too. But, I mean, plenty of people play through these games on Amiga, right? So, but this is already stretching a little bit because we're in 1992. Games are coming on 11 floppies, right? That's the kicker, too, is that these are 720K floppies. The Amiga does not support 1.44. So that's your limitation. And it's not a fast drive either. So, yeah. You can see where it already starting to show the cracks as far as, like, keeping up with the PC. At that point, PC was going into CD-ROMs pretty quickly there, and games exploded in size. Not that the Amiga didn't have CD-ROM attachment as well, but not nearly as prolific as the PC got so quickly with multimedia. Because, I mean, they had x86 architecture on the PC, and that allowed it to grow, right? But the Amiga still was running on the 68000, you know, with the 7 megahertz by default, so, like, some people had an Amiga 500 at this era. This is what they ran on. And the PC at that point, if you had a 486 or even a 386, you could start getting, you know, running circles around the Amiga at that point, especially the 486. Listening to people that had an Amiga around this era, too, when the PC started coming out and kind of taking off, that's what everyone was just jumping ship to, was like trying to get to the PC. And even the Amiga 1200, which was more powerful and had what Amiga called AGA, or Advanced Graphics Array, to have better graphics to kind of compete, was not nearly enough. EGA just blew it out of the water. So yeah, the talkie ones are fun for these two, and the remasters of these are really good, available on Steam. Search of treasure. I also remember, like, my friend playing Monkey Island on his Amiga, and it was just so quiet, and he's trying to figure out something, and you come to a point that has music, and all of a sudden stuff goes bonkers. Oh, that's right, they did that. Didn't they make an ultimate version, that has, like, the talkie, the VGA, and the MT32 support, right? Like, it has all the good stuff, which makes it, like, the ultimate way to play classic Monkey Island, if you will. That's all the best, because the original Monkey Island that you run on DOS, you can't do, if you enable MT32 on it, or Roland or whatever, then you can't use sound effects. So if you do ad-lib, you can't use the MT32. So no, not a great port there in that sense. Ah, yeah, they're really good. The remaster, they did a really good job with it. I have never played through Monkey Island 2, only bits and pieces, and it's one of those games that I love point-and-click adventure games, but I don't know I'm very good at playing on stream, because I turn to deer in headlights. I have to know the game. We played Simon the Sorcerer, we played Monkey Island 1 on stream. Those games I know roughly pretty well, so it's something I can actually do, but a game that has, like, I have no clue where to go will be very challenging. So we know that works. Splinter, the amount of disc swapping is unreal. And I think I was listening to a podcast, the This Week in Retro podcast, and he talked about one of the Ultima games is what made them abandon their Amigas, because the amount of disc swap was just bonkers. I think it was like Ultima 4 or something like that. There were so many floppies, and it took so long. Or maybe it was they got the PC4 Ultima 7 probably, I think. But yeah. Load. It's a little immersion breaking, because every time you do anything... I really should play through this. A pirate. Writing is fantastic too. I'll probably play this on PC. A lot of these games, like, yeah, the Amiga is unique, but if you're going to sit down and actually enjoy and play it, it's probably better to go to PC, especially for this one. I think the DOS port of Monkey Island 2 is really good, too. Again, if you can wrestle with MT32, it's fantastic. So I'll probably play this on my 46 at some point. And we're not going to play this game now, but yeah. Nice. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but just figuring out what to do. I don't know. The point-and-click adventure games, I feel like when I'm going through one myself, it's just sitting down with a beer or something and just slowly working your way through. I played Fate of Atlantis quite a way through that way, and I had to revisit that again and finish that out. I haven't completed that game either. So, yeah, I have the MT32 Pi hat for my 486 that I'm using, together with the Pico Gus. So, kind of like I have all the things. I have a real hardware Sound Blaster in there, the PicoGus, and the MP or Pi 32. And that gives you pretty much everything, I guess. So anyway, that is Monkey Island 2 and a billion floppies, and it does work. So I'm a little shocked, honestly. And I'll be honest, I mean, if I'm going to play this, I'll play it from hard drive instead of using the floppies, so. All right, let's see. We play some other game that's probably so many games on here. I was hoping to play Cannon Fodder, but nice. Yeah, that's the thing too. The emulation for the Pi 32, for those not aware, it's a bare metal emulation of the of a MIDI device that you have a hat on a Pi, and it gives you a lot of access to different MIDI devices like the MT32, SC55, and anything else you can think of. So let's see. There's so many games. One that I really played as a kid. Trying to see. I don't think that one was ported, so. Yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah, floppy drives, they got worn down. Now when they're brand new is one thing, but yeah. So, all right. We're going to copy a game that I played a lot as a kid because my neighbor had, like, I was a little younger than my neighbor. I'm still one of my oldest and best friends. He's a few years older than I am, but he would often like find more colorful games for me to play or something. And this is one that I played quite a bit. I never got super far. Like, I mean, I was a kid at the time. Oh, really? But then again, Nintendo has pretty good quality control and stuff like that. And I think in the case of the Amigas, you know, they were made to a cost like anything, and they weren't intended to survive that long. But yeah, you're right. When you think about how many games went through these floppy drives, it's still absurd, really, at times. So, let's see. We're going to go to DH1. Game archive. Go to P. Copy. PP Hammer. 2.1. 036.lha to DH1. I wish that the file names, I was thinking about doing some PowerShell script to clean it out, and I got too lazy to figure it out, but I'm trying to remove all the ending because I don't care what version it is, right? But it's fine. It's workable, so. I'm going to extract that. Yeah, I need to do the memory mod ASAP, it sounds like, because that is limiting the usability of this machine. The next step would be to buy the upgraded, what's called the Angus chip. It's one of the custom chips on here that lets you use, they call it Fat Agnes. And it's one that lets you switch between PAL and also supports a little bit what they call ECS. So the OCS is the original video chip that was on the Amiga, but then the ECS is kind of extended, and that it's the one that lets you switch between PAL and NTSC, and that's really useful. So, yep, sure, the PP Hammer. Why not? You got any questions about that? It's actually called PP Hammer and his pneumatic weapon. So, you know, take that for what you want. Keep it runs. But this thing, if you haven't explored the Amiga library, and I'm still scratching the surface, like there's so many games. Whew, got the C64 style I am loading. Used to do that so you knew that it was actually loading. I have to do that because I probably didn't get picked up on microphone, but earlier when the game was loading, it was just and there's actually if you're listening to this with headphones, you might hear the stereo separation going on. The fact you have like the bass line on the right and then something else on the left, so. You don't really hear when you're sitting like this, but if you then have a balance, right, you can turn it back and forth, you'll really hear it, so. Yeah, those screens, at least to my knowledge, they're, because, you know, tape loading was hard to know if it was actually working or loading when it was so slow that they would do some sort of screen like that to show that something was happening. Like, we are actually loading. It's the music. I do love the Amiga because for a 16-bit computer, it does everything you'd want it to, really. And that's why I've been having so much fun with my Amiga 2000, getting it prepped and set up. And if I want to go play an Amiga game now, usually, and that's what I'm working on this machine too, you just go sit down, turn it on, and then you can play. It boots you right into the desktop. All the games are installed, you know. Yeah, because the thing, it has 2 channels on each side, so there is no mixing. That's the whole thing with the Amiga, which is why it's so unique. They can do panning, you can take the same one and move it over, right? But if you have one, like the baseline running on the right channel now, it is not playing on the left side at all, so there's no stereo mixing at all, so. Normally this would load the floppy, so this game was never made to be installed, right? But WHD load makes it possible. It would just be floppy only, but I played it quite a bit. It's a fun little puzzle platformer. Of course, with up being jump, the objective is to collect all the treasure. Got his pneumatic weapon. You already see the gameplay loop here, right? So. Yeah, that's basically the gameplay loop, but it gets progressively harder, of course, like any puzzle game like this does. And I got fairly far as a kid, but then you kind of get frustrated, you know. But it's still a fun little diversion once in a while. See how far you can get. There's actually a pretty fun little idle animation. We'll see if we can get a trigger here. If you don't do anything. Yeah, he smokes. Goes the arrow. You can see which blocks I can drill there. The blocks do respawn, so you can actually, you know, soft lock your... Oh, no, soft lock. You have to push a button to kill yourself then because you cannot complete the level. Hey, what's that? Anabolica? Woo! They're just teaching you ropes now, so... Some slowdowns there. That's the thing. We have a much faster processor, but it doesn't mean that all games can utilize it, right? Depends on coding. I do wonder sometimes on... Some of this might be due to running it off, because I don't remember if it's like slowing down that much as a kid. Oof. That's the thing. It might be something I need to mess with the settings, or... Come on. Well, it's not like you would have complained as a kid or anything, right? You just would have played it. I don't know, I thought it was a charming game, but it's like one of many different types of platformer slash the platformer strategy games, or whatever you're gonna call it, so. And it seemed like it, yeah, I just need to play better. AKA get good, I guess. This would be so much easier if there was an up to jump. Jerks. Oh yeah, I played that. I bought the box copy for it. It's amazing. It's really fun. It's a roguelite, so... Yeah, it's really a fun isometric one. It's I would say it's a little repetitive at times, but considering the platform and everything, it's an amazing game. Lotus level. I always thought this was super fun as a kid. Like, Legos! Legally distinct Legos. Yes, made it. Oh, superb. He gets really ticked off if he loses it. The whole like cuss word cover-ups comes up, and he throws his hat, I think. But yeah, it's a roguelite, as the name would imply. And you are... Ooh. We're going back to the beginning? Okay. Well, that's nice. You slowly just kind of progress through each level, and it's all randomly generated and stuff, so it's very impressive for the Amiga. I've done like a few runs in that game. I never get too far because I was good, like unlucky, or I do a bad move and I die and the run is over. I'm a little curious on this one because I don't remember this slowing down this much when I was playing it, but I also played it on PAL, right? So maybe it doesn't like NTSC. Who knows? What else? There's so many games on the Amiga. That's even the NTSC. There's several hundred, so. And there was a lot of top-down racing games. We can play one of those too, because those are good ones, so. Climb to hear the Rolling Stones. That was not smart. You gotta be careful, because you can block yourself in pretty bad, so. Maybe. And the cool thing is there's still active development. Yeah, Roadcraft, of course, came out as a commercial game. There's a lot of people developing games. There was a new Scorpion engine, I think it's called. And it is a kind of like a engine toolkit thing for building Amiga games. So there's been a lot more platformers coming out lately that just look great, so. Careful not to block yourself in. Secret, I guess. Okay. How do I get up there? I gotta make it? Oh yeah, no way. Yeah. No way I would make that. I don't even know how to do it. Oh, there you go. Gotta see the full experience. A little bit, yeah. Oh, that was a long way down. Yeah, now you've seen basically the gameplay loop here, right? So, oh. And I'd say this is more of a, I mean, definitely puzzle elements, right? A lot of the platformers on Amiga are more straightforward than that. But we do have to check out, I think it's Cars 2. There's a lot of good games on a platform, and it's well worth exploring. And on Amiga Vision, again, is a great way to just get started with, at least just playing them on the Mister. Let's see, I'm looking for a specific one. Okay, it's command line time again. So that's what I wanted to do with this. I didn't want to have all the games installed, which is, you know, it takes a while too because they're all compressed. But you can just grab a game that you might be interested in, look through the list, and like install it, try it out. So all the games are not ready to roll, if you will. And there are definitely images around. You can buy. So Amiga OS is up to 3.2, which is an official new release. And you can buy, if you buy the license for it, you can also buy a compact flash card that's prepared that has just a ton of stuff on it already. But in my case, I started with a blank flash card because I wanted to build it up on my own and learn how to do it, right? So, so let's see. Which one? For Cars 2. Like, yeah, you have to learn like the command line structure, but you can see it's not super complicated and it's just pretty intuitive, honestly. And again, that's when installing software is almost even easier. It has guided setups for most things. I mean, when you install the OS, it basically just you boot from the OS install floppy, and then you partition the drive, get it ready, reboot, launch back into the installer, and then you just run the installer, and you just pick basically next. It finds a hard drive, you know, select to install it, and off you go. That's very simple. Okay. AX. There we go. And I watched a video by Mark from 10 Minute Amiga Retrocast, which is a great channel. He does a lot of Amiga content, and he actually had an introduction on Workbench. And I watched that, and it's real helpful for me because it gave you tips on where configuration files should be stored, like what each folder is for on the system drive, you know, the equivalent of, you know, opening like the auto run stuff and all that stuff, and that was really helpful as a baseline for me to understand it better. So that was definitely good. If you're looking to understand Amiga, definitely recommend that. You know, I don't know, but I have a feeling they have. Is there anything Linux has not been ported to? I got a feeling it has been ported to almost everything. So, yeah, I think so. Now, if you're playing a 3D accelerated game like that, so the Amiga supports Voodoo accelerators and stuff like that. You'd have to have a newer OS, of course, and a very beefy Amiga. But you can run video cards, you know, PCI video cards in an Amiga to some extent. There's a lot of stuff if you go into that high-end spectrum. There's a lot of stuff you can do, which would be fun. You know, I'm not sure. Honestly, don't know. But it would be fun, and it might in the 3.2, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, you can. Unless I'm pretty sure you can run like a Voodoo 3 PCI on an Amiga. So I think it would be fun to try and run like an overpowered Amiga to do like the cutting edge of what the Amiga, because there's a lot of development happening on Amiga on that upper end where they're basically using all these accelerators and stuff to run it in a just an absurd environment like PyStorm alone. But there's also, I think it was Amiga Kit X or something. I forgot what it's called, but they are basically doing like a bare bone installation of Amiga, bare bone emulation, if you will, on a real computer. So you could take a modern machine-ish, like say an old machine you have laying around, and run that on it, and it basically uses it like a bare bone superpowered Amiga, which would be way more powerful than Amiga would ever do. But that's the machine you could, surf the web with. You can listen to MP3 files, etc., etc. So that's far beyond what this is doing, of course, but there is that desire to push it up as accelerators get stronger and faster to actually do something with them, right? So I just copy. Yeah. I don't know what's involved or how that works, but that's why you're seeing games like that ported to Amiga. Like, why would you do this? Because, I mean, this can't run on this, 25 megahertz processor. Well, there are ways to do that, like with newer Amiga emulation, newer accelerator cards. I mean, there's magnetic fields again. I did the Lotus, right? So, I love the racing games. So, I don't know which game or... I don't know what cards are supported, what's practical to work, but I have seen big box Amigas with Voodoo cards. There's bridge cards and stuff like that. It lets you run DOS on them, too. The Amigos, especially the big box Amigas, were built to be expandable to the nth degree because they were targeted businesses and stuff like that. So there were a lot of expansion cards. There's Mac compatibility cards. You can run Mac OS directly in there. I'm Harrison Ford. No, you're not. And there's a 286 card, bridge board card, and with that bridge board card, it acts as 286, and you can run other PC devices and stuff like that in there. So it's really, really, really expandable. Supercar, super scores. Get supercharged. Dr. Bong. It's interesting because there's a lot of top-down races on Amiga, and they seem to have been very popular. Good lord. Yeah, that's the thing. There's so many things. Not very creative with the names there. Yeah, Barry Leach did the music for the Lotus games. He also did for Top Gear, so... And he did for the Horizon Chase series that came out recently. Horizon Chase is a spiritual successor to those Lotus and Top Gear games. And he did the music for that too, which is a fun way to see him back. I actually had my friend in junior high and high school. He had an Amiga 500, and I spent a lot of time with him too. That was my third friend with an Amiga 500. And he would make games in a game toolkit called Amos that lets you create like basic games for coding and stuff. So he did that a lot. He also composed a lot of music on his Amiga, and I actually have his music he gave me years and years and years ago. But he actually burned a CD and everything, brought it to music class to show off and everything, and he was real talented. He's talented. But it was fun to see how broad the Amiga was, because not only gaming, yes, was one thing that people did with it. You gotta push the button to accelerate here, apparently, so... And the left button doesn't work very well. What I've found in a lot of these top-down racing games is that they're good, but they're also very difficult. Why you have missiles? I don't know. It just makes sense, I guess. I may have to buy one of those gamepads that work, because the joystick feels right as far as, like, true to form, but it also makes it very difficult. Yes, Lotus Strike, a long time no see, yeah. Sorry, dude. I hope things are getting better. But it's been a long time since you've been here, yeah. And to be fair, I haven't streamed a lot either, so I shouldn't say anything, but... How many laps? I guess the resolution doesn't show the laps, they're just cutting it off, oh well. We'll let it fix now. Yeah, RC Pro-Am felt very natural to play. I never felt that it was a problem with controls, but I think that the... Oh. Blammo. Winning time. He blew me up. I love this too. Your little break in between here is an Amiga 1000 sort of thing where you get to spend money to fix up your car. Emotional damage. You can buy upgrades. So this Amiga 500 has a Terrible Fire 534 in it. So it's a 25 megahertz processor at 4 meg of memory. So it doesn't make it fly, but it makes it actually more practically usable, I think, especially with having a hard drive on it. It's the big kicker on it. I'm not after speed so much. Although it does help to be able to play the RAM. That sounds good. I can't get the engine, so pump missiles, yeah. Okay, or good enough. It's good enough to play some of those. Is fair to me. Jump, 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 slide, slide. Some of those 3D games, we checked out some of them earlier, and they do run a lot better. Of course, I can't directly compare them because I don't have a way to put it back to stock easily right now. But what I was going to say earlier, I think the thing with the Amiga era of games and stuff like that is a little bit of a Wild West as far as, like, we kind of have an established thing, especially on consoles, like what you'd expect out of a game for the controls, things like that. A lot of that's been solidified now, but back in the early days of computing, it was a more Wild West, right? So, especially on these systems that had one button, because they think, like, well, you never need more than one button, you know, what's the problem? But in the games like this, or here it's fine. Many games would benefit from 2 buttons. And there are the CD32, which was like the attempt by Commodore to make a home console. And it's kind of the last hurrah, and they failed after that. Oh, made it. They had 2 buttons on that one. So some games, the later games, do support 2 buttons. It's not a lot of these early ones, because again, they target the most common hardware, and the most common hardware is to have 1 button. Oh. Explodinated. Aw, a jip. I landed on the explosion. Oh. I guess we'll be better served with some music instead of the slow hum or whatever, but... Player 1, alright. Apparently. It's hard to know, so... Yeah, true. But yeah, in general, when it comes to Amiga games and control scheme and all that stuff, it really targeted the most common configuration, which was the A500 stock, possibly the 512K upgrade, and a 1-button joystick. I mean, that was the bread and butter, and that's what most people had. Big exhaust. Man, expensive. Can't afford to end an upgrade. No, what nitro. Missiles. Fires and missiles. But yeah, there's several of these top-down racing games. And, I mean, again, there are hundreds and hundreds of games on the Amiga. Me to make them do them justice, there's just so many. I don't know how to use nitro, but... Well, it might be enough of supercars. Get the idea. I spun out. Again, I don't want to have missiles. I just want to spice it up, I guess, but it feels a little malplaced in the way it's trying to be kind of a serious racer otherwise, so... Yeah, and there's plenty of games that don't control well even with that, but at least there was options. Like, you know, there was a Street Fighter 2 port, I believe, for Amiga, and I believe the control scheme is just ridiculous. You basically move with the joystick, and then you hold the button, and then you point the joystick the way you want to use, like, the 8 directions on the joystick as your moves, like the punches and kicks and stuff. So you have to move, stop, hold the button, and then do a thing, and then move again. So, yeah. That's how they got around that. Oop. Yeah, I'm trying to think now. It's been... Since this fall is when I streamed last. And I probably wouldn't be honest if I said I'm going to stream every week or anything like that, but I want to get back into it. I really want to make a video. This feels like that's been so long now. And I might start with something simple, but Great Uncle is certainly eccentric, but just much needed cash in as well. Sure. Oh. Just got 500 pounds. Sweet. Alright, well, that's Supercars 2. Very popular one in this. What other games that I already put in here? We're talking about Settlers, but actually one we should play first is Nuclear War. Yeah. It is getting late, isn't it? So I probably will plug it in pretty soon too. But thanks for stopping by, Mike Boy. It was fun to see everyone again. So, yeah, for sure. Just, you know, the way I thought to myself too is like, I felt guilty sometimes for not making content. It's like, well, it needs to be fun. I want to do this. So that's why now I decided, like, you know what? I haven't streamed in a long time, and it kind of feels like I want to stream. So let's stream. Trying to make it more natural and fun, right? If you try and chase it or make it like a thing, it's challenging. So... Nuclear War is kind of like playing on the 80s Paranoia, and it is a slapstick kind of take on bombing everyone to smithereens. And yeah, as is seen here. It's plays like a tabletop, like a board game, I guess is probably the closest, not tabletop, board game. And it's really fun, but also a little distressing and or sad at the same time. Ooh, yeah, that'd be nice, yeah. That's something I've thought about too. I've talked to other content creators too, like what they do for overhead, and you know, you can use just a boom arm thing or whatever, but it'd be nice to have some sort of like more rigid rail system, and I've seen some pretty sturdy ones. Ideally something that can hold like a DSLR or something beefy in place, and above all doesn't wobble with the table. Like I can shake here now, and I can probably move this camera a little bit. So, so yeah, the names are a little fun. They have Ron Raygun, Ganji, Tricky Dick, Jimmy Farmer. So we'll have to add a few. Yeah. Organ Nuclear War, good evening. So, you play as an old nation, and you need to win by being the last person standing, via bombing everyone else's smithereens. So, yeah, for sure. I appreciate you stopping by, Solder. Hopefully, things are looking better and you're feeling better. So, mental health is important. So, should not be ignored. Glad you're taking care of yourself. And every turn, you basically can do a move. You can basically defend yourself, attack. In this case, I have nothing to attack with, so I'm going to build weapons of war, and almost everyone else will do the same thing. Oh, people are leaving the... So this is how the game plays out. You're now in the middle, and all the other countries are in the corners. And things happen. So Ron Reagan has put a bomber on the runway, which means he's preparing to bomb someone, and we don't know who. And press a missile. And there's some propaganda. And I built weapons of war. So let's see, your factory produced. All right. So the payloads, you have to have a delivery that's large enough to actually carry the bomb, and I don't have much, so I'm going to check myself and see. Because if they try and bomb me... Launches leftist liberal laterally, so they launched 2 million people out of the country. Oh, they're not bombing me anyway, so... Yeah, if you have a defense system, you will negate the attack, so... I'm going to build some more. I need some things to deliver it. I have nukes now. I don't have anything to deliver it with, so... Oh, they're doing propaganda. Yeah, and 15 million killed there. They invite him for barbecue, and 1 million people leave. See what they built. 100 megaton missile. So that can carry 50 megatons. So we're going to prepare. Well, hey, Mac84. Hello, Steve. Welcome. Playing Amiga stuff. We are, I don't want to read too much into it. Just playing nuclear war here. Seeing what happens in playing out a nuclear war in action. I would like to have... I don't want to waste that on that one, but that's right. We'll prepare the 100 megaton missile. And then we might shoot it on this guy here. Oh, as a concert for your country's people. So 7 million people leave our country. So the cities work that the bigger they are, or the smaller they are, you can see they become a tent or whatever. And then eventually the city goes away and then it will not come back. So if you lose the city, it's gone, but it can always gain people through random events or if you do propaganda. So, yeah, infidel. So we are going to put a 50 megaton. Select a target. We're going to launch a 50 megaton warhead at infidel. And there we go. Push the red button. There it is. Bloop. And as long as he doesn't do a protection, which is the defense system, then that missile will... But it can also randomize that you miss or something too. So it's really unpredictable. Winning this game is half strategy, half luck. So... Okay, so he did not do a defense system. So now our 50 megaton missile... The dud warhead saved the city, for example. So now... Yeah. That 50 megaton missile destroyed that city, and now the city's gone. Now, that means he's pretty ticked off, and he says, I'm Batman, apparently. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll do propaganda. Yeah, we'll target propaganda, and then we'll build some more weapons. But stop doing propaganda against me again. Yeah, so, see, that city is now gone. Boy, he's having a bad time. Let's see what we get. 6 million people, yay! Gotta build some more stuff now, though. Oh, I'm really mad. Yeah, it really plays like a board game, straight up, so... Oh, they keep propaganda for me. We built. Okay. We have a bomber, so let's prepare a bomber. 50 megaton capacity, so we can drop a 20 megaton bomb. We don't have anything to carry our 100 megaton. When you build a 100 megaton one, the sound goes like, ooh, because it's the biggest one. Stop propaganding for... That guy is just untouched now. I think we're going to bomb him, though. It's Ganji. Here. Have a 50 megaton surprise. Oh, dang it. That's going to... Only 10 million killed. Yep, bomber shot down, so that was a waste of use. Fine, we'll do some propaganda on you then. Get some of our people back. I don't know what the music or the audio is so quiet in this game, by the way. Oh, they leave the... Defectors left instead. Yeah, your propaganda strike failed. 6 million people defected instead. My goodness. How dare you? What do you mean? You got people for me. I'm going to die pretty quick here. Fine, we'll prepare a missile. He's just blitzing my country with lies. Can someone attack him? So that's the thing. This game is really just luck of the draw when it comes down to it. It's really difficult to... I mean, you can strategize all you want, but if you don't get lucky... you're just not going to win. So if you get lucky that the CPU is attacking each other a lot, then you can sustain and maintain. But he's going to use propaganda to just basically kill my entire country very soon. 60 million people. There, he's not happy now. Mercy, mercy. What do you mean mercy? All right, well, let's do propaganda on Infidel then, because I need more people. Your cities run out. Yeah. Look, another city is destroyed. If your cities run out, you're out of the game, so. City destroyed. Wow, that's very random. 4 million people, so it's something. We're going to build some more weapons. All right. They came back. Huzzah. The Infidel's going to be gone there pretty soon. When the game is over, it just speeds through it pretty quickly. Let's see. What do we want people to build? A lot of missiles, but fine. We'll ready a 20 megaton. We just want to lay off propaganda. Everyone's getting missiles ready. 20 megaton capacity. Push the button. I think he's gonna, like, propaganda my country to smithereens, so. Only 4 million people killed, so yes, it is, of course, you know, very tongue-in-cheek, so yeah. I just want to see when I lose, because it has a pretty funny game over screen. I think it's going to happen here pretty soon, so. Yep. That did not work out in my favor. Propagandist is going to... Oh. That did nothing. Boy, I need a big nuke here. I don't know if this is based on a board game or something, because it plays very similar to that, but this was also on PC and other platforms, so. I got a ton more head of wood. Okay, so, alright, let's do a 50 megaton missile then. Alright, to left for my country. But we don't 2 cities, they can grow, but you're pretty much lucky to draw. You can have things where it just drops people on you, too, randomly, so. Here, have a 50 megaton. My goodness. Doesn't give up. 11 million. Nuke them instead. I will not. I don't think it's going to work. It seems like he's very good at propaganda. See if I can get propaganda. All right. That city was destroyed, and he left me for my town, so that's good. Yeah, I want to build some more weapons. Barely hanging on. I don't think it's going to make it through this, but this game can be played through pretty quick, as you see, and there's no settings to it beyond this, whatever. So, oh, there you go. He's gone. Now all the stockpile gets launched automatically, so if they have a lot of stuff, built up, that can be pretty bad. Let's see, 1 megaton LNDS, 20 megaton warhead. Dang it. I don't have any delivery systems is the problem. Alright, fine, we'll use the 100 meg missile. I don't have a choice. Yeah, go for Ganji, that's good. The other ones haven't really been attacking me, it's just Ganji, so... So you can use a bigger missile with a smaller warhead works, but you have to have a warhead or a missile large enough to hold the payload, so... Alright, at least he's doing it not to me now. 10 million people. We'll do a... Hopefully and see what happens. In case they missile me. Nope. Well, that is turn-based, you know. Straight up. Christ, I'm not dead yet. Not dead yet. Man. Where are all the delivery systems? It's random what you build, so I have to keep building because I don't have any way to... I only have like a 10 megaton. Will do much. What do you guys build now? Come on. Okay, 50 megaton missile is something. Alright, well, I'll send a 20 megaton warhead then. A little tongue-in-cheek, if you will, because thinking about this is pretty depressing, but... Alright, they're going for Ganji now. Looks like Tricky Dick is... Ow. There goes 20 megaton. Can't take itself too seriously, but there's a lot of, like, creative type of games on the Amiga. Of course, there's a lot of crossing over with the PC and Mac, too, but... I'd left for my country. 6 million people. 7 million people. Alright. Yes, I did attack you. For a 10 megaton missile. Christ, I have made it this far at this point. Because, yeah, there's, you know, Populous came out on this. There's Powermonger, the, like, God-type games from Peter Molyneux. And there are pure strategy games, military, strategic games. City. Oh, we gotta build some more. I guess I can launch another... My Ganji's getting just obliterated here now. We'll start attacking that guy if I'm a chance here. Doo-doo-doo. Alright, Tricky Dick. How's about a nuke? Whoop. He's gone. This guy's by far the strongest now. Yeah, now it starts launching everywhere. Alright. Ooh, dud warhead. That was lucky. Stay on target. So maybe if I can do some propaganda here now, that'll be good. Ooh, 5 million. Don't hit my big city. 10 million people left. Alright. Net gain. Oh. See, I got it. Wow. Nothing. I have very bad luck with the production, because again, that's just randomized, so... Oh, they're both going for me now. That's not good. Go for him. Oh, yeah, this might be it. Oh, hut left. You make it. I don't have a choice. I gotta do propaganda because I'm about to die otherwise. Oh, 4 million people leave. 10 million people would come back to me. All right, nice. If they start fighting each other, I have a chance, but otherwise, this is pretty much it. Still hanging on. All right. Let's see, what do we build? Come on, something good now. There it is, 100 megaton warhead, but I have no way to deliver it. Ah, I will build again. That's the last hope. Can I get a delivery of something now? All right, well, it's something. Oh, it's hanging on by a thread. I think the bomber can be used multiple times, if I remember right. 7 million, not a lot. Yeah, 30 megatons remain. Getting lucky that... Oh, I'm gone. So now the game will fast forward to finish out. See what's happening here. And then you get a little game over screen, which is this. I won! Yeah. Not depressing at all. I think we're going to end on that note, but yeah. That's a game that's both fun and depressing at the same time. But the... leave that there. I want to spend some more time getting this Amiga really up to snuff, because I think having that 1 mega chip mem will make this machine much better, because that's already a limiting factor. And I'm probably upgrading it so they can read display PAL as well, which is a limitation right now. But it's fun to mess with, and just like moving games slowly but surely to get on there. Adding an accelerator to this, I think, elevates it a lot just from usability. Having a hard drive is super convenient. Because again, around the Amiga 500 by default has no hard drive interface at all. So this adds an IDE interface for compact flash and everything. So it's a good accelerator, pretty cheap. So, but it's fun to be back streaming. We'll see about next week. I'm not entirely sure. We'll see what happens. I definitely will stream again, but I definitely want to make a video. I kind of feel that itch right now. So anyway, thanks everyone for hanging out. It was fun to see everyone again. Hopefully see each other soon again, and we'll see each other on Discord as well. So it's late. Got late real fast. So thanks for hanging out. I will see everyone later. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. Good night.